Greetings.
How's it going, everybody? Or should I say, domo arigato? I need to switch things over so that way you can see us now, like I've done this maybe a couple times in the past. Welcome, all of you. Today we are going to be basically just hanging out and talking about what's been going on with two decks. Okay, so what we're doing here today is we're going to take a look at one deck that everybody thought was going to be a thing, or at least it was a popular opinion that the card was very good when it got revealed. They thought there'd be a deck around it, or at least it would find a home somewhere. We're still waiting. No, it's not working.
There's no we. I was right this time. I was on the right side. I was on the correct side of this coin.
Yeah, right before it came out, you kind of surprised me. Like, it seemed like you didn't have a strong opinion before. You're just like, look, a weird card. It seems interesting. And then it was like, nah, I'm out. And right before the set came out when we were discussing
it. It was because of the Tavern Brawl.
Yeah.
But we'll get into it in a little bit.
Yes. The other is a card nobody mentioned.
I didn't even know it was a card until it was in a good deck.
We didn't show it to you. It got dumped on us in the huge mess of cards at the end. Nobody thought about it because, you know, why would you? And again, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Also, though, today, John, we have, of course, the Blevins bluffs the F-blow.
Yes.
And Stump The Blevins, which we're very excited about. But we're definitely on pace and have a nice opportunity for a brief, succinct, regular timed show today.
Yeah.
So we've got to try to not screw it up. We'll try. I mean, to be fair, it's probably already over. We already lost.
Thank you.
All right.
I just want to thank you.
Well, I'm just a man whose circumstances went beyond his control, and I just had to allow that to happen. So my apologies, and we're just going to move on now. All right, so
now everyone can see our identity. That's in about 4 minutes. We're on pace for 60.
We can just stop now, right? We can stop with all these puns. If you don't get it yet, I don't know what to say to you, but we will explain it later when it becomes apparent. So don't mind while me and Blevins tell private, personal jokes back and forth to one another, I guess, for another 10 minutes.
He's just a modern man who hides behind a mask.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a robot without emotions. I'm not what you see, you know? I've come to help you, John, with your problems so that we can be free. All right? I'm not a hero. I'm not a savior. Just forget what you know and try to bluff me, please.
Yeah, well, Jim, the problem's plain to see.
Why did we think this would be hard? We don't even need to talk about Hearthstone today.
Okay. All right, so I'm done. I'm done for a little bit at least. Okay. So this week for the Blevins Stump Bleh. The Blevins bluffs death blow.
Explain it to him what the point of this game is.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen it, this is basically just a ripoff of the popular NPR shows Wait, Don't Tell Me's Bluff the Listener game. So what is going to happen is I have 3 different instances, sentences, things. 2 of them are made up by me. The other one actually happened or is true or etc. Jim's job is to decide which one actually happened.
You're going down.
So, I have a little bit of a theme this week. I had a theme last week, and I think one of the other weeks I had a theme. I like doing the themes. So this week's theme is because of a weird interaction. All 3 of these are because of weird interactions between cards that and something weird or crazy or broken or fill in the blank happens in game that normally wouldn't or you wouldn't think would or blah blah blah. Okay. Number 1, Jim. Because of a weird interaction between Twilight Drake and a Nubar Ambusher, it's possible to play a 4/20 Twilight Drake. Hashtag smoke weed every day.
I don't know why that works.
That's number one.
Got me anyways.
Number two. Because of a weird interaction between Emperor Thorison and Knight of the Wild, it's possible to gain mana from playing the Knight. So basically, it's like becomes an Innervate or whatever.
Okay, so Emperor Thorison and Knight of the Wild. Okay.
You're familiar with Knight of the Wild, okay?
I just looked it up, yes. If anybody's not, it's a 7-mana 6/6. Whenever you summon a beast, reduce the cost of the card by 1.
Yes, so because of a weird interaction between between Mr. T and this guy, it's possible to generate mana when you play him. And number 3, because of a weird interaction between Undertaker and Baron Rivendare, it's possible to play or to have a 6/9 Undertaker without any other additional buffs besides the death rattles.
So
Hashtag
just Baron Rivendare and what?
Him 6/9. Because of Undertaker and Baron Rivendare, the interaction between them and death rattles, it's possible to have a 6/9 hashtag Kappa 6/9 Undertaker without any sort of other buffs. Like normally it would only be a 6. It would only be a 6/7, but it's possible to have a 6/9 because of a weird interaction between Baron Rivendare and Undertaker.
All right. Well, I'm going to start by throwing away that third option right now because I think there's too much unknown, and I don't know. It just feels a little ambiguous to me. So I think you wrote it. It's just kind of a gut feeling. Not that I don't think it. I think there's might be death rattles in the game that pump, and that to me makes it a little weird. But trying to think here. Read me the first one again.
Because of a weird interaction between Twilight Drake and Anubar Ambusher, it's possible to play a 4/20 Twilight Drake. Hashtag smoke weed every day.
Yeah, smoke weed every day, Drake. I got you. All right, and the second one was gain mana
from Knight of the Wild because of Emperor Thorison.
All right, so I think that I've seen it happen in a video where there's been more than 7 minions on the board. Like, I've seen that rule broken. So I'm going to say that it's possible to have the smoke weed everyday Drake on the field. I think you can get a 4/20 Twilight Drake.
Jim, you are correct! You've won today's prize of absolutely nothing except for the delight of not being bluffed by Blevins.
All right. Well, I'm off to a good start, John, and I think I'm going to 3-0 you.
You might.
I think you're in a little bit of trouble when we get to.
I was really hoping the hashtag smoke weed every day would throw you off.
I was like, when you said the stats of the Drake at first, I didn't make the connection. But you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't realize you just said 4/20, and you know what I mean? And then you said that the hashtag, it did throw me off. I had no idea what you were talking about.
Oh, for those asking about how it's possible, I'm going to post I'm going to post the link in chat of the video of it being done. It honestly makes no sense, but it does happen.
Well, we will have to wait and see. So what we're going to do...
now everyone can see.
The problem's plain to see. With the following deck, lock and load. Okay, there's too much technology in lock and load.
Machines to save our lives.
Machines actually, John, curiously enough, dehumanize.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that or not. Nonetheless, basically, this was one of the first actual cards that got spoiled for this set. It might have been the actual literal first.
No, it was the first Hunter card. It wasn't the first card. It was the first Hunter card.
Gotcha. Well, it was very early on. It was in that initial stream. And, it seemed to me, especially, I like you were off of it or unsure of it early, and then you became less convinced. And it turns out you were right, John, because I've tried this deck a good amount because I want an excuse to play Hunter, and I want a reason to, get to level 60 with the class.
Yeah.
It's one that it's like the easiest one to get to 500 wins. I don't know that I've cracked 100 yet. So it's definitely a little on the brutal side. I jump at all the opportunities to play it in the brawls and the things that I don't like for other reasons. But the idea here is essentially to control the board and just kind of hang back and live, right? And then you play lock and load, and then you get a bunch of value by clearing your opponent's board and resetting the board state. You then draw a bunch of cards. What video did you post?
Well, don't watch it because it's actually the well, I mean, you can now.
I mean, I can't click on it anyways, but
okay. It's one of the things for a later week. Okay, here's the right video.
Gotcha.
Here's the right video. Sorry, guys.
I love you. You're giving spoiler alert on the other video, even though it's way too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially Lock and Load is trying to gain a bunch of cards by clearing your opponent's board and destroying all the work they've done and the board presence that they've created, and at the same time filling your hand. But the problem is here, John, is that you never, with this deck, have board control. And Hunter can't literally just 15 times with the hero ability to win.
Right. That's pretty much word for word what I was saying about the card a couple weeks ago. It's like... The card seems really sweet, especially since, like, the magic instincts go off here. It's like, oh, this is like Glimpse of Nature. This is like Glimpse of Nature Elves. We get to draw a bunch of cards, play a bunch of stuff, go off. It never works like that. Like you said, and like I said earlier, you never gain... The best case scenario is that you wipe your opponent's board and you have a bunch of cards in hand, and then you pass the turn. There's no other... That is the absolute best scenario, and that's not a winning scenario in Hearthstone, sadly.
Yeah, and even when you start to think about, how long you can hold out, right? Even in this metagame of Control, how long can you hold out before you go off, okay? Let's say you're playing against Dragon Priest, so you're not really ever going to whittle their life total down, and they're going to keep playing these big guys. Now, that's kind of a strength of the deck, right? You don't care how big the minion is. You're going to be able to kill it. Like, we're playing almost no minions, so we have 2 Hunter's Marks. We've got multi-shots. We'll use our kill commands to kill minions because we have to random ourselves into a beast anyways in order for it to mean anything. We don't care. True. And you use tracking and power shot and all these things, and you just dig, and find your answers. And really the only proactive board control things that we have here is we do have 2 Mad Scientists, 2 Loot Hoarders, and I use the Animal Companions as things to play early on. It was not really, a spell in my mind. It was more a legendary minion of sorts. You know what I mean? That mana cost for the minions you're going to get from it would probably have to be a legendary if it were to just be in print. So,
except for Leok.
Even then, though, like if you could plan on Leok, he would be great.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, I agree.
But nonetheless, like you said, you were on this pretty much right away a couple weeks ago, and it's really just never found an opportunity to materialize. Have you played against it much, John?
Never. I've never played against Lock and Load. I think it's kind of sad. If it were each time you play, if it was just each time you play anything, it would probably be... It might even be too good, because then it's just like Glimpse of Nature. If you get to play minions off of it, you just get to cycle off your 1-drops, which would be insane. And the other fact is that it's random Hunter cards. Like that's I think. I mean, I guess the random isn't the worst part about it. It's the fact that you don't get to make a board presence, but the random doesn't help. If it was like each time you cast a spell, add like Animal Companion to your hand, or like add the perfect Hunter spell to your hand. Yeah, add a high main. But like even like you get 1 high main, that's great. If you get 2 high mains, it's like, okay, well, in some matchups that's really good. And if you get like, I don't know. Drawing 3 cards, I think, is optimistic. Like, you probably have to put yourself behind in order to draw 3 cards, and they better be 3 really good cards.
See, I never had any problems drawing 3 when I played it. I was able to draw 3 and 4. The problem was they had to be high main, or I wasn't winning. I don't think this deck can. Well, go ahead.
I don't think this deck can ever beat Justicar True Heart in Warrior or Priest, probably. Like, literally, when they play that card, you just lose the game.
Yeah, those decks have so much removal that even in the event that you get to your high main, like, they're just going to play a bunch of armor and shield slam it. And, like, you had to get RNG in order just to see the high main to begin with.
And at that point, why don't you just play 2 high mains?
Yeah, that's really the thing with this deck is if you want to, basically, if there's any reason why, the early spells are good. You know, if you want to be playing 2 Hunter's Mark and 2 Arcane Shot, Lock and Load might help bridge the gap, right? Because you want Arcane Shot against aggro, you want Hunter's Mark against control. And it's kind of nice that the Arcane Shot then kills whatever you Hunter's Mark in the control matchup, so there's a little bit of a bridge gap there, but that's still not great. You're getting 2 for 1. You're volunteering a 2 for 1 for your opponent to kill 1.
3 for 1 almost, right? Because or maybe for a half, because Lock and Load itself is maybe worth, I don't know. It's hard to value, what do you even put, what kind of value do you put on Lock and Load? You're discarding a card, right? So it's you automatically, you're 2 for 1ing yourself, and then you're playing another card in order to get those cards back. So it's I don't know. You're you're at a card disadvantage, and you might end up cycling your hand out, but it's just not how you win Hearthstone. The tempo loss is so bad.
Yeah, and kind of what I'm getting at is that it might be viable in some sort of control hunter style deck. And one of the things,
it for value.
Yeah, you'd play it for, if you get 2 card draws off of it, you're just fine. And there's other ways, though, in my head I'm thinking that you can kind of use this, right? I have in the past played Control Hunter with Young Pyromancer. No, not Young Pyromancer. That's a magic card. Wild Pyromancer.
Yeah, Wild Pyromancer.
Because when you are Hunter's Mark, your opponent's huge minion, 1 damage gets dealt, and it sweeps away. In that deck, I've also played Acolyte of Pain. So if I don't sit there and go, I need to hit 4 or 5 cards off Lock and Load to have a decent chance at high main to maybe win the game, and I just go, that's fine. They're just extra cards, because Hunter has a lot of these multi-shots, the Destroyer Rain, Deadly Shot, Kill Command, Quick Shot. There's literally almost all the traps do some form of removal in their own way. There's so many ways to get extra removal that if you put this in a control shell like that, where maybe you're using it to, cycle a card and clear your opponent's board with Pyromancer, it might work, and you also have the Acolyte. I'm still not thinking so. I would probably just rather play something like a Loot Hoarder or what have you, but it's possible.
At that point, it starts to look a lot like Burgle, add 2 random class cards to your hand, but it's situational because you need the other cards. And I don't know if Lock and Load read draw 2 random class cards, if you read it as just that, it doesn't even seem that good, honestly. Add 2 random Hunter class cards to your hand for 2 mana, that's probably not worth the spot in your deck.
And it actually, in the deck I'm talking about, I think it's strictly better than what it is here.
Yeah.
And the worst part about this is that my golden one looks amazing.
Yeah, the golden animation does look really good.
It was pretty awesome, I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I think a world in which we see Lock and Load involves more cards like Animal Companion or, Power of the Wild and that new Roots card in Druid, the spells that are effectively minions. I think that's how Lock and Load becomes playable or becomes good. When you can advance your board and do proactive things and also draw the random cards. I think that's where we start to see Lock and Load see play. And it's another one of these cards that we've talked about a number of times where it's this card, every time a new card comes out, it's oh, how does this interact with Lock and Load? I mean, a lot of times it's not going to interact with it at all, but it's something to keep in mind. It's a card that very easily in, 2 years or whatever, when they come out with the spells or minions set or whatever, Lock and Load becomes really good all of a sudden. It's possible. Right now, though, not seeing it.
Yeah, it's definitely a little tough for it. And I've got to say, John, the time has come at last.
Secret, I got a secret.
to throw away this mask.
Secret, secret, I got a secret.
Now everyone can see.
Secret, secret, I got a secret.
My true identity. I'm Kilroy.
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 Kilroy. Kilroy.
So if you didn't get it, this is what we've been up to this whole time, is we've just been having way too much fun with the fact that there's a Paladin secret deck in the metagame now. And if we've been saying anything that seems random and weird, it's just been a quote from that song. So
almost certainly.
Yeah, this is the one nobody saw coming, guys.
No.
It was
funny side note about this. Jim texts me this morning and says, "So we're definitely talking about the secrets deck." And he's like, "I may or may not have looked up all the lyrics to Mr. Roboto, and I may or may not have put them in the show notes." I'm thinking to myself, like, Mysterious Challenger doesn't look like a robot. Why in the world is he talking about Mr. Roboto? Like, I don't understand. And then I'm like, oh, I get it now. I figured it out.
So it finally happened, John. The hashtag secret package that we coined like episode 1 now contains 8 secrets in it.
Yes.
Think about that. You're playing 8 secrets in a deck, and you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's not the brawl that summons a random 2-drop when you cast them, or a 1-drop in this case either.
And they all cost 1 mana. They
all cost no mana, because you rip them straight out of your deck with Mysterious Challenger on turn 6, and almost like 85% of the time, if you cast it on turn 6, you won. It's insane.
Yeah. From almost every situation, it's super good. And
I have an empty board. Why wouldn't I just slam this and put 4 secrets into play?
Yeah, it
works.
Insane. Yeah, it's just insane as is. And I think that, well, every time a new Paladin secret comes out, obviously this card gets even more insane. I think this card might get nerfed. I really think it might, for a couple of reasons. It's an unprecedented amount of value. It has really good stats. If it were like a 6-mana 4/2, it would still be really good, but it would be a lot worse. It's just so insane. And the other thing is that you can just like mix up the secrets that you're playing and just really get people. It's like, if you ever play Eye for an Eye, they're never playing around that.
No. I don't play around the one that makes my guy have 1 power when I play him either. Like, I just run something out there.
1 health.
1 health. I'm sorry. Yep, totally right. I ignore that one too. I only play around the 4 that you're seeing here until I mean, you'll see that there's 5 of them there, right? So you'll be able to play around it. But if they only flip 4, these are your standard 4. The biggest one that comes into play is the one that drops the health down to 1. But really, I think this list here, I've seen a lot of different lists, and there's a couple things I want to talk about with this one. And not all of them have played Secret Keeper. And
I've liked it.
I've loved it. Let's be completely honest. You're playing 8 secrets in your deck. It is not possible to just not draw them reliably. Okay, so Secret Keeper in some games is Undertaker.
Old Undertaker.
Yes, old Undertaker. Like, wins the game. Depending on the matchup, depending on how many secrets you draw, depending on what order you draw them. I've had a situation with a double Secret Keeper draw where I like slam Redemption and Avenge and like then Noble Sacrifice. So it costs them like 3 minions to get into attack a guy, and then it comes back and pumps the other one like crazy. So now the other one's like a, you know what I mean, like a 9/9. It was out of this world.
Yeah, I think the best thing is like if you keep the Redemption, because like the normal like play it on turn 6, like okay, they attack, they kill the Noble Sat guy, they pump the Mysterious Challenger, the Noble Sat guy comes back. It's like that's not that good.
It is though.
It is. I mean, obviously, it's really good, but like, if you can like sandbag the redemption, or like have a redemption out earlier, or keep the redemptions in your hand, like you can just crush them. Like a lot of times, I'll keep redemption in my opener and then just play that on turn one, shield the minibot on turn two. Like, pass the turn, kill my shield the minibot, go for it. Like it's just insane. Or like I'll like run out an early knife juggler. They'll like a lot. I think a lot of times people assume it's either avenge or noble sacrifice, so they like play stupid around it. Like when you play around the wrong secret and you do it like all in on it, like you get crushed. And like a lot of times I'll be on the play or on the draw. I'll go turn one competitive spirit, turn two coin out mustard. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes when you do those types of plays, you get ranched when your opponent has the answer and they knew to play around it. But like, it's still pretty early on, and people are still playing really bad around these secrets. And then at the point where the fifth secret gets mixed in, it becomes really hard to play around all of them. And like that. Oh, the other reason I was thinking that this card might get nerfed is that there's no good way to deal with 4 or 5 secrets in play at once, except for the hunter spell, flare. That's the only way to deal with multiples. Like even Kazan Mystic only takes 1 at random, and it's like just taking 1 isn't that good. So like the hard counter to secrets, the Kazan Mystic is not good in this against this deck. So like priest, what does priest do? I have no idea. What does warrior do? Well, they kind of go over the top a little bit. What does mage do? They really don't do anything against it. Like it's kind of tough for each class to actually do something against Mysterious Challenger, which is another reason why I think it's possibly a nerf. People are talking about like Boom needing to get nerfed. It's like not right. We're over the Boom. We've got like Boom is just a very good card. It's not doing broken things. It's just pretty powerful.
Boom is still played all the time. BGH is terrible right now.
Yeah.
What else do you need to know?
Yeah.
It's not good enough to run BGH against it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I have actually been playing against decks that play 2 BGHs because there's so many dragons and Dr. Booms and like avenged Mysterious Challengers that like it warranted the second BGH. Like Dr. Boom's fine. The Grim Patron isn't the card that's the problem. It's Frothing Berserker. So like if they just like if they could easily change Frothing Berserker, but they don't really need to, I don't think. I think this new meta has kind of equalized the Patron.
Yeah, if Patron, it's going to take Patron coming back and resurging and going back to being the powerhouse that it was before the format. And even back then, I don't think it was ever in a state where it had to be nerfed. I think people just love to complain and listen to the sound of their own voice on the internet. So
yeah, and
says the podcast host.
Right, and here's the other thing about like being like, oh, Patron is broken, blah, blah, blah. It's like if you're playing in a tournament, that's only one game. Like, and you can also play Patron. Like if both players play Patron, like okay, instead of having 3 decks, you only have 2. The Patron deck automatically wins. All right. Bring your other decks, please. Like, okay, ladder, like you can run the ladder, but like who cares? Like it's not a big deal if it's like a good ladder deck. Like if it's like if it were like Magic where there's one deck that's destroying everything, like that's kind of a problem because you can just win tournaments by playing the most broken deck. You can have the most broken deck in a Hearthstone tournament and you'll only have won 1 game and you'll lose all of your games 2-3, like or 1-2. Like that's just not how Hearthstone works. Like you can having 1 broken deck isn't a big problem. Conquest
won the fight between it and Last Man Standing. That's been decided.
Last Man Standing, it's been decided for a long time too.
So the one thing, the last thing I need to say about this here, John, is I'm going to give you a hand and you're going to tell me what happened in this game. So I mulligan my Dr. Boom and my Tyrion and my Sludge Belcher away because that hand's bad, right?
Yeah.
I pick up Redemption, Avenge, and Competitive Spirit.
Okay.
Worst case scenario. I draw Redemption right away, number 2.
Okay.
I proceed to then draw Noble Sacrifice the next turn. What do you think happened in that game?
Did you win?
I obviously won that game. Not even kidding you. The next turn, like, I draw Shredder, I play it, and I'm just back in business. And then the next turn, I get to play Redemption. My opponent kills the Shredder. It seemed terrible, right? That I'm just sitting there with all these secrets. I just relaxed. I didn't play them. I hero abilitied. It got to the point where before I drew a non-secret card, my Mysterious Challenger was already diminished in the point where it could not possibly get 4 secrets. And if I cast 1, the second it was going to get every other secret in my deck. So it was what seemed like the worst case scenario wasn't even out of reach. You just had to play smart. I built up a couple of hero ability minions. I traded them in and cleared my board other than the Shredder, which is really important to have made the Redemption powerful.
Right.
It's a lot of it takes a lot of thought. It is a goofy deck. It's weird. It does have the Undertaker draw, the old Undertaker draw, where you just Secret Keeper into 1, 2, then the next turn 1, hero ability, the next turn 1, and it's just, you're done.
That's kind of the reason I really like this deck. It's super powerful. Like, Mysterious Challenger is insane. Like, going Mysterious Challenger into Dr. Boom, like, you're not beating that. And then, Tyrion, obviously a good card. Sludge Belcher has been a super powerful card. Being able to use the Redemption, like, normally, like, Redemption is the kind of card that, like, it's probably close enough to powerful enough to being able to see play. It's just like, the problem is like, if your opponent knows it's Redemption, like, it's really bad. But when you're playing this many secrets and you're not losing value by playing this many secrets, like, having the games where they misplay around Redemption is backbreaking for them. Getting back a Sludge Belcher, getting back, like you said, a Paladin Shredder, a Knife Juggler, even getting back a Secret Keeper is really good. It's worth noting that I took this exact shell and I changed 2 cards. I took out both of the Paladin Shredders because I'm just sick of Paladin Shredder. It's definitely a good card. Everyone knows that. It's been like the most played card since GVG came out. I'm over Piloted Shredder. So I'm like, I want to play some new cards. First card in, William Matar. 4 mana, 4/4. Deals 4 if you have 4. Call 4/4/4/4/4/4/4. William Matar. Had to play him. He's been quite good. There have been a lot of times where I'm like, well, if I draw William Matar, I win. Or it's like, well, if I draw the Muster for Battle here, I win. Or it's like, oh, I just win because this guy's insane. Like, when you turn him on, it's broken. We talked about this. Like, if you can play a deck where he's turned on, a consistent number of times, he's broken. Even just playing him as a 4/4 for 4 is fine. Like, just play him as like a slightly worse Yeti, perfectly fine. Yeah, so he's been really good. And I took out the second Paladin Shredder for Murloc Knight because I just wanted to play the card. It's been fine. Honestly, in this deck, it's probably not better than Paladin Shredder, which is kind of sad, just because of Redemption. Although, if they kill the Murloc Knight while you have Redemption out, like, it's pretty good. But they just killed the other Murloc when they know it's Redemption. So, Murloc Knight, probably not good enough. William Matar, which, for those who haven't figured out, is Gormok the Impaler, or whatever it's called. Definitely worth at least one of the Shredder spots. Murloc Knight, maybe not.
Yeah, Shredder carries too much value with Redemption for me.
Yeah, it really does. And honestly, it probably gets put back in. I just wanted to play with the new cards, honestly.
yeah. Don't blame me at all.
Although I definitely think that Gormok is worth the slot in this deck.
I could definitely see it being worth it. I just can't craft another guy right now, so I'm a little stuck not being able to make him. The last thing I know I said this about the last thing I talked about, but the last thing I want to talk about with this deck is Mad Scientist. John, when you trigger the death rattle on Mad Scientist and you have a Secret Keeper in play, you don't get a +1/+1. When you pull a secret out of your deck, you increase the likelihood that you're going to pick up 2 of them and make your Mysterious Challenger worse. So those are the downsides to the Mad Scientist. The upsides are it is technically card advantage, and the one thing that I think isn't thought of enough, and you might have thought of it because you're from the Magic background, you thin your deck and get yourself closer to the Mysterious Challenger. So even though you're taking a secret out of the deck for it, you're bringing yourself closer to it.
Right.
I can go either way here. I haven't been able to come up with enough data to make a decision on it yet. Do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, Mad Scientist has definitely been one of the weaker cards in the deck. I do like having the early minions. I really like playing the early game is so important in this deck because you really need to be in. You can even be in a slightly unfavorable position, but when you play on turn 6, you play the Mysterious Challenger on turn 6, the game is just swung way back into your favor. And the combination of Knife Juggler, Mad Scientist, Shielded Minibot, and Muster for Battle really allows you to have a like stranglehold on turns 1 through 3/4. So if you have a really good, control of the board, and you've got the momentum going into turns 5 and 6, where you can either coin Mysterious Challenger or just play one outright, you're in really good shape. Having those small minions that, maybe one got an Avenge, maybe you got a value competitive spirit out there, and then playing a Sludge Belcher on turn 5, also really powerful. I think Mad Scientist is probably worth it. It's possible that something like maybe a Haunted Creeper or something to that nature could replace it. Because like you said, getting the random secret out of your deck in this deck isn't that great, but it's still really good. I would say for now he still makes the cut.
Yeah, there might be a better 2-drop we can play. I don't know exactly what that is. This deck doesn't carry any equalities in it, things like that. There's also other kind of, and I'm completely blanking on what it is right now, but there's not much in the way of, I'm sorry, we're missing a couple of the key Paladin cards.
Yeah, I noticed there wasn't equalities, but you don't really need them in this deck, I feel.
I have no complaints. My win rate with it's phenomenal.
Yeah, me too.
But it's possible, it would help in the control matchups when it seems like you can't get, you know what I mean? Like maybe they busted up your secret turn, because Priest is, I think, one of the better classes to do that. They find a way to kill something, and then they can just Shadow Word Death your challenger, and you have like one or two mediocre sized guys. Priest will live.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyways, that was pretty much all we had lined up here. So we do have Stump the Blevins to go, and we will get into that here right now.
Do.
Where John pretends like we have theme music for it. Stump
the Blevins, yeah!
So much singing from you today. We're so blessed.
You're so blessed. I'll never be able to recreate that song. Yes! Got him! Got him!
Oh,
got
man.
him!
I hate you so much that it hurts inside.
That's a Apex, not Aflex. Apex. My friend Apex made that up. Blevst. So blessed.
Well, I will make sure I blame him if I ever meet him.
He also tips his fedora and says, "Blevins."
All you had to say was fedora. It makes total sense. All right, guys, so if you don't know, Stump the Blevins is our little game that forces John to do something he told us last week he'd not do anymore, obviously with the exception of this game. He does not do impersonations upon request anymore. You guys beat that out of him. Good job.
Yep.
Fight the good fight.
I've actually been... that's been a thing for me for years now because people just abuse it. They're like, oh, do that Family Guy voice. Oh, do this, and I'm just like, I'm not doing it anymore.
It's funnier when, like, it might be cool for that person. It's funnier for everybody else watching if you choose it. I will say that for sure.
And they're much funnier off the cuff and not on command.
Yes,
because you're nothing but. It's like, do a Christopher Walken impression, and I'm like, I do it, and they're like, oh, yeah, that was okay. But if you're like thinking of like, what's that guy from Pulp Fiction and that movie, and then the cowbell guy, it's like I got a prescription. The I got fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. It's like okay, that was a little bit better, but it doesn't. It on command, it's not good. So that's pretty much the reason. Also, I hate all of you, especially Elbow.
Yes, well, obviously. Anyways, what we do here is essentially I give John 2 cards, not at the same time. I give him one at a time, and he has to impersonate the card. So, John, I'm going to switch things up a little bit because you got it last week, and it's kind of the theme of the new set. Hit us with Just a Card True Heart.
Just a Card True
For an example. This is the example.
It's welcome to the Grand Tournament, champion.
Now, that one's... that's the right words. I don't think she says champion. It's a little tough. You did it better last week with the impression, but it's a female voice, and we've already talked about how you get credit there. I won't use that as an example anymore.
Yeah, just stick with Sludge Belcher.
Sludge Belcher, John, hit us. Okay, we'll do 2 examples.
Feel funny.
All right, that's the one he's ready for. So he's not up to the pressure, But nonetheless, we're gonna give him some pressure anyways. John.
Yeah.
Probably, actually, still the best card in the set. Darnassus Aspirant.
Oh, no idea. Literally not even an inkling of a clue what this card is. I have no idea.
I'll give it to you in one word. If you can say the right one word. You're not going to get this because you're not a WoW player. You should have just played WoW.
Idea. No, I feel...
Elune, guide my lance.
Elune, guide my lance. The attack is for a loon, so a loon was the word I would have let you
you're a loon.
Oh, that's rude, is what that is. All right, so 2-0 so far on the day for me.
Yep.
We do have one more card here now, John. If you didn't get Darnassus Aspirant, you've probably seen more Tuskar Totemics, but
I don't know the exact words.
This was the one I thought you had a real chance to get because you love these walruses, and I knew you wanted to know what they sounded like.
It's like, did he bring fish? It's something
Did you bring some fish?
Did you bring some fish? I'm going to give it to you. That is way close enough.
I was taking it one
You
way.
don't take anything. I give it to you, or you don't get it, mister. All right. All right, so now's the time, guys. If you have any questions, please please do. If you have any questions, hit them up in chat. And we did have one from Peach, and it was regarding the secret Paladin deck. And he was wondering, John, if you think 6 secrets is enough for the deck to work.
6 different secrets or 6 total secrets?
Well, there's probably only 6 total different secrets. This got confusing fast.
I would lean... okay, so I could see myself cutting one of the 2/1 defender guy, maybe. You definitely want 2 competitive spirit. You definitely want 2 redemption. You definitely want 2 +3/+2, and you definitely want at least 1 2/1. So I would say 7 is the absolute bare bones minimum, and I think you need a really good reason to cut the other defender. I would lean towards playing
defender.
another.
Do you mean get down?
Get down, yeah. I don't know what the card's called. I think it creates a defender or something. I don't know.
It creates a 2/1 defender.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, we have the slides right
there.
there.
I control the slides.
Whatever.
So, noble sacrifice.
Noble sacrifice. I can't see the other 3. Like, maybe you cut a redemption? I don't think so. The answer is no. 6 is not enough. 7 is a bare minimum, but I can't imagine what you're playing over. Like, there's something better to cut than the other secret. And I think that, honestly, I could see myself playing 1 eye for an eye if people aren't. I'm going to test 1 eye for an eye just to see how bad people play around it. And if it's, like, pretty easy to play around, I'll cut it.
Yeah, so my answer to that is you can play almost any number of secrets that you want. If you're only playing 6, I think you have to cut out Mad Scientist.
Definitely.
You get to a point where you need to keep them in your deck. So now you've got a lot of extra room, but I do think it's very important that you maintain at least 4 different secrets for the maximum value on Mysterious Challenger. My instinct is you're making Secret Keeper worse. You're making Mad Scientist unplayable. And I'm not sure that's a bad thing, because it might not be correct anyways, or it might not be ideal in my opinion. I haven't been able to finish that opinion yet, as we've talked about. My opinion is, though, I would try to keep it really close. Maybe cut 1. I wouldn't cut 2. If there's one of these secrets you just really hate for some reason and it's not redemption, I think Get Down is like, man, you know, really close to mandatory. The one I could almost cut is Comp Spirit, because I really only want it, you know, for the challenge.
It's possible. Yeah, that's true. I guess if you're cutting like the early game stuff, like if you get rid of Secret Keeper, you get rid of Mad Scientist, and you just run like that one, a small secret package and the Mysterious Challenger, and then you just play like a mid-range or control Paladin deck. Yeah, I guess I could see it, but like you said, four different secrets minimum. I don't think you're cutting any of the +3/+2. I don't think you're probably cutting any of the redemptions. Maybe a redemption. I don't know. I get like here's the short answer. After we explained it for a long time, if you want to play quote Secrets Paladin, you need at least 7, I think. Yeah,
I would agree with that as an absolute baseline. A second question we have here, John, is in tournament. So I'm sorry, in a tournament, would you remove Knife Juggler from the Paladin deck to better go against Grim Patron?
No.
Yeah, I'll field that one first as far as reason goes. I'm in the no camp as well. Like John was saying earlier, to keep him from repeating himself, he just, you know, you can just lose to it and then play the next game. Like you can, he was saying it like, you know, just because I can win with Grim Patron doesn't mean I'm going to do well in a tournament. At the same time, just because I can't beat Grim Patron with my, you know, with any given deck, or maybe all 3 of them, doesn't mean I can't go undefeated and win the tournament.
Right. So here's my thought. You're already not favored against Grim Patron as Paladin, just like as a general rule. Like Paladin, very bad inherently against Grim Patron. So you don't want to. This is going into Magic theory as well. People overcompensate in their sideboards, and I'm not going to go into what sideboards are. You just have to follow me, even if you don't know what I'm talking about, or you know, tune out for the next couple of minutes. People try to overcompensate for their bad matchups with their sideboard slots, or even main deck slots. So they'll take like, okay, they're playing an aggressive deck. Let's say you're playing Face Hunter, and you're like, okay, well, I'm really bad against Freeze Mage, so I'm gonna play all these cards that are good against Freeze Mage. I'm gonna take out my weapons because they're bad against Freeze Mage. I'm going to play 2 Kazan Mystics so I can beat Freeze Mage. And it's like, boom, I got it. And it's like, now my matchup, instead of being like 80-20, now it's like 60-40 in their favor. It's like, well, you took a matchup that you were already losing and you made it so that you lose slightly less often, but still more than often. And now you made your matchups against the decks that you had good matchups against bad. So in the grand scheme of things, you're making your deck worse so that you can have a slightly better matchup against a deck that you weren't favored against. So instead of doing that, you just go, okay, if I get paired against Grim Patron with my Paladin deck, I'm going to lose. Or, you know, I'm going to win 15 or 20 or whatever the percentage time is. You just try to get lucky. Like, that's how you play tournaments. You like, sometimes you need to get lucky, or you need to metagame against it, or there's precautions you can take. You can, you know, think about what his likely lead is and you know, work around that and try your hardest not to pair your Paladin up against their Grim Patron. You don't take out an essential card like Knife Juggler that's good against so many matchups and can do so much work for you. Just because it's bad against a deck that you're already unfavored heavily against. That's my thesis.
I definitely agree with it, but what do we know? You know, we are just a man whose circumstances went beyond our control. Well, that's going to do it for today, guys. We are going to be doing an after show, playing a couple games, making fun of each other, quoting Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto. There's a decent chance of that.
Much, Mr. Roboto.
Well, I can't think of a better way to close out the show than thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank you. Please, thank you. Oh. Bye, guys.